Well, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the second half right here on Pure West Sport this Monday night with Eaton-Evans and Morris Solicitors. If you are just with us this evening, we are live now on the Facebook page and in all the usual places you listen to Pure West Radio, with plenty to talk about between now and 9 o'clock. Locally, we will kick off by rounding up the weekend's rugby as Llangwm's youngsters fly through in the WRU Bowl. Haverfordwest and Whitland Ladies sides are going well, and some big derby action to review from Saturday. And we'll look ahead to the return of the Six Nations this weekend and get some thoughts ahead of Wales' trip to Italy. We heard from the winners of the Rastowy Sant events in the first hour. Great performance by our very own Fraser Watson as well. So we will talk rugby with the London Marathon not far off for me. And in football, we've got the Carew coach, Kerry Brace, joining us after his side. We're joined by Hakin in the last four of the West Wales Cup. And with apologies to Gordon after that result at Anfield yesterday, I thought we could maybe have some examples of some strange sporting scorelines from over the years, because that was.
I knew you'd get that in somewhere, mate.
that was some afternoon, wasn't it, Anfield, Gordon? We didn't see that coming. We spoke last week, didn't we, about the Carabao Cup final. To go from that to a 7-0 thumping. Football,
incredible, isn't it? Football's a funny old game, and that definitely was a funny old result. But well done to Liverpool. But it's nice that United got a trophy in the cabinet already, so they don't have to worry too much about those 3 points.
And last time United had a big defeat, do you remember when they lost at Brentford? Ten Hag had them running, didn't he? At 8.5 miles. He joined them for it. So I just wonder whether he gave them a similar workout after.
I'm sure there's been a few harsh words said, Ben.
I would
probably
think so.
Gone on a long run today as well.
Exactly. Talking of long runs, Fraser, well done yesterday. Seriously, great effort from you coming third. And we will talk about Rastowy Sant in the final part. Are your legs okay?
No, they're very sore because I did the race, left my car in the pub and had to run back and get it the following day. So I double whammied. But no, great day. Slightly disappointing that not to retain the title, of course, but the time was good and the race was good and it was a superb event. We'll touch on it more later, like you said.
Yeah, we will. And in the first hour, we hear from the winner of the 10K and the winner of the half marathon. You'll be able to get that again as a podcast, and it did sound like a really, really good event. But there's loads to talk about. We're going to get into the local football in the second part, but I think we'll kick off with rugby, and we'll get to the Six Nations in just a sec. So if you are watching on this evening, do let us know your thoughts. Can Wales avoid that wooden spoon? And we'll get some thoughts from Fraser and Gordon. Let's look back first on the weekend's action then, shall we? And Fraser made the point last week on the show, plenty of local derbies across Pembrokeshire and some good action this weekend.
Yeah, some good news stories actually from around Pembrokeshire Rugby this weekend, with, as you touched on there, Llangwm Youth still going the WRU Bowl, getting to that semi-final. I think they had a big reception when they came back from North Wales, and then we saw Whitland Ladies and Haverfordwest Ladies then yesterday getting through to their respective plate and bowl finals, which I think will be in the Principality Stadium on April the 1st, is the provisional date set. So great. But yeah, my boy St David's, great win for them at Llangwm as well. First time they've won the Johnny Jones Memorial Cup actually over 2 legs, so they were pleased to come away from there. And of course Neyland Haverfordwest as well. Haverfordwest, bit misleading scoreline, I think. Haverfordwest comfortable winners, but apparently Neyland were more in it than what it made out. And some Friday night rugby this week as well. St David's going to Aberray. I'm not quite so sure come away with the win there. That'd be a little more difficult. And I think the Pembrokeshire Cup, Neyland going to Narva second. So,
they are, yes. Yes.
So yeah, good full-blooded day, and another big win for Crymych, 12-10, hanging in that promotion race, aren't they?
Well, we spoke about that over the few weeks, Fraser, that Crymych need to turn up in these big games, and they're winning by the odd couple of points, and they're very much in contention of winning the title and getting promotion.
They're still unbeaten, aren't they?
Brilliant.
That sounded a dogged fight, that, didn't it? That 12-10 win for Crymych. And reading on the match reports on pembrokeshiresport.co.uk as well, it sounded like a hard-fought game. But at this point in the season, and when you're going for promotion, you take those wins every week, don't you?
Yeah, and to be fair, once you get past Christmas and you play on Crymych's pitch, if you run in anything less than knee-deep high water, you're doing pretty well. So I can't imagine many points fest until the sun comes out again. So no, they will keep dogging it out. They know how to win, certainly. And Tenby keeping in their promotion race as well with that win. I think maybe more difficult for them because they've played more games in the top two and they need that top two place.
They've shown great improvement this season, Tenby
Yeah, they
as
have,
well.
yeah.
And they've been a little bit more consistent, and that's what the coaches are looking for.
Sure. But roughly the smooth as well. Fishguard and Pembroke Dot both not taking teams away. I thought that's poor as well. We have to say it. Don't we? We'd say if teams don't do it when they come down to
It's sad
Pembrokeshire.
at this stage of the season, especially when we've had the Six Nations break. You would be itching to get back and have a game of rugby. But it's sad when it happens, yes.
Is that a worry, do you think, for clubs when they can't raise a team at this point in the season?
It's a difficult one, Ben, because I think it's a concern. I think it's always a concern when it doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. But you talk now about the motivation not to do it. There's no relegation because of this restructure. You know, they don't have to replay the game. It used to be if you didn't fulfill it, you had to replay the game and still make the long trip regardless. Now, if you're not in a promotion race, you probably take a 4-point hit, don't you? You know, that will be the mentality of some knowing you don't have to make the trip again. So, look, I don't agree with it. It's wrong. I've always said it's wrong. You know, whether with my club did it too, it was wrong. But it has gone on. And, you know, I'd like to think after everything that's gone on, the teams will dig deep to fulfill the season now, with respect to the league, if anything else, you know.
Okay, as I say, pembrokeshiresport.co.uk, brilliant pictures and match reports from the weekend's action. Llangwm Youth, we heard in the first hour, and that's a great story. They're through to the semi-finals of the WRU Bowl, and Fraser, you brought some reaction, didn't you, for us in that first hour? That's a good effort, and they're absolutely buzzing, aren't they?
Yeah, I saw the cliche, the wasp buzzing, Staff very delighted. And to be fair, that's really caught the imagination of the village of that cup run. It was actually a shame. St David's Home was a big day for them, but I think it was mixed with that youth trip. And I think they'd buses full on the youth trip as well. So there's actually a divide. But no, it's important for Llangwm. And, you know, this isn't patronising in any way, shape or form. Gordon will know it. They do struggle sometimes. They are struggling this season. There's no doubt about that. But what they haven't had for a number of years, and it's the same with St David's, what they haven't had, and Llangwm do have, St David's don't have to say that, so they haven't had a thriving youth team. And if you have a thriving youth team, you've always got a future, you know, and if you've got a future, you've got boys coming through. I know it's Colin Picton's boy played rugby this weekend, mind?
Neyland was struggling for a striker in football.
It's amazing what happens when there's a trophy on the line and potential stadium appearance, but no, they've got a good group of youngsters there. And look, any level, don't mean feet to go away to places like Delgoffley, North Wales, and on Saturday. You know, it's tremendous for them, and it's all over Facebook.
It's great to see on social media as well. I've noticed a lot of boys from other clubs as well wishing Llangwm Youth all the best, and that's great that Pembrokeshire are getting behind them. It's important, isn't it? Even though when we're playing against each other, it is, you know, you want your team to win. But when a club is doing well in a Welsh Cup competition, it's good to see that clubs are getting behind whoever it is going to that level. And Llangwm have done brilliantly, and they're playing some superb rugby. And if they can win now in the semi-final, I believe it'll be at the Principality as well,
right,
the final, and that I hope they get there. They'll give it their best shot, that's for sure.
Cup competitions in Wales get a lot of flack, but when you have something like the plate and the bowl and the tee, it does give lesser teams a shot at the stage, and we've seen it with Whitland Ladies, Haverfordwest Ladies, Llangwm Youth, of course, Dufferin Taff. We haven't mentioned they representing the first hour, tremendous win in there. It
keeps the interest of the season. Like we were saying, teams not fulfilling fixtures, but when you get fixtures like this, it does give you an interest.
Sure.
So I got to give the WRU a bit of praise for bringing up all these cup
No one said that for a while.
Well, they do deserve it. They do deserve it. Sure. It's giving players a focus after if they're not doing well in the league and they're doing well in the cup, it gives them a focus, and that's important. And fair play.
Yeah, keep flying that Pembrokeshire flag. Fraser, you just touched on it, actually. Good news for a couple of our ladies' sides, Haverfordwest and Whitland Ladies. They've both reached the finals of the bowl and plate competitions. That's great. And actually, the women's game is really pushing hard in Pembrokeshire now, which is good to see.
Yeah, and they've both done very well, actually, because Haverfordwest had a good period and actually came close to folding a couple of years ago.
I was just going to say that.
The people who created him, Clodagh Llewellyn, who was so influential, that generation moved on. And there's actually a generation that's come up behind now and has kept them stuck together. Steve Bonnet and his coach, have I got that right? Your old mate.
My workmate as well.
Your workmate,
To be fair, Steve Barnett, he needs a lot of credit for this. He's got to the club. He's got a new batch of women together, and they're basically novices. They won't like me saying that at this moment in time, but Steve's been saying, he's been coaching them, and they listen. They're like sponges. They're really enthusiastic, and he's let them grow and just let them play. And they're playing some really good stuff. So they've done well to get to the final this season under those circumstances, as Fraser just pointed out. They nearly folded.
And Whitland Ladies a good rebuild as well. They were a Premier team for a long time, top 2 Premier team 1 year actually. They too had to go through rebuild. Now they're a very, very young team out there and done well. Kept it going, and it's not an easy thing to keep going and done well.
And they're rewarded with a day out in the Principality. Great.
Which perfect, isn't it? Well, some incentive, isn't it? Absolutely right. Okay, so some local rugby success, but let's move on to the Six Nations, shall we? And this might be a bit more depressing to talk about. Is it a wooden spoon game on the weekend? Yes. Who's going to win? We talked about this last week, Gordon, didn't we? I think.
Well, it was interesting to note that a couple of old players, Welsh players, I saw being interviewed. Mark Jones, the winger, and there was somebody else I can't remember. But that era, they were asked how many times they lost to Italy, and they both said twice. So it's not a new thing this happening that we're losing to Italy. Wales are capable of winning. There's no question about it. But it's whether they get off to the right start and don't let Italy into the game. If they let Italy into it, it's going to be a difficult afternoon.
Well, give us some comments on this. What do we think? Is it feeling almost like we're talking ourselves into a Wales defeat here, Fraser? Like, is it expectation setting?
There's so much doom and gloom behind the scenes, and obviously that's still continuing. That it's hard not to, isn't it? I think Italy on form are the better side at the moment. I generally think that, and remember they won in Cardiff last year when they weren't considered the form. So it could be interesting. You go to Italy over the years so often, and you've not wanted to be dragged down into a turgid game, and it's almost the opposite this time. Wales, talk about Wales utilising runners. You don't want to throw the ball about too much against these Italians. They're creative now. They're a good team, and we're going to have to be on our thing defensively. And if we are going to kick as much as we kicked against England, it can't afford to be too deep because they've got a good back three and they'll run it back at you. But it's an impossible almost prediction to make, Ben, because you just don't know the turmoil that's still going on. There's talk this week of players potentially being handed cuts of £210,000 a year, £230,000 a year in wage cuts, the top players, It's almost barbaric. This is still continuing. And I think it's almost impossible to be at 100% as a squad going out. You can talk all you like about how it changes once you cross the white line and get on the field, but it's impossible to prepare properly with all this going on. They not even have full training sessions for a start. So Tom's just made a good point up there. Like Capuccio being out is obviously it is a big boost for Wales, but it's going to be very, very difficult. And I've heard today, it's worth a lot of money between 5th and 6th, a wooden spoon. It's something WRU don't have at the moment. So it's not just a case of writing it off either. It's an important game.
Alex Cuthbert out for Wales. No replacements being added to Gatland's squad. That was confirmed today. Do you think he's come back into this job with his eyes open in terms of what was going on off the pitch?
No.
No. What about the situation on the pitch then? Is it worse than he expected? I mean, he was on punditry duty, wasn't he, towards the end of Pivac's reign? So he was there. He was in the stadium. Do you think is there some regret from Gatland? Is that legacy at risk? Do you think?
Does he take any blame for this championship? Probably not. He went into a team that was in turmoil and uninspired, and then everything that's gone on in the background is very difficult to. I have been critical of his selection so far. If I was going to delve in on that, I think he's gone with tried and tested when there hasn't really been logic behind it. Personally, and I think it is a year which is essentially a free hit for him and a chance to build a side and blood young players, and he hasn't done that. I didn't think he picked up best back row in the last game by any means. Dropping Jack Morgan and Reffel, I thought was quite baffling. But look, it's difficult, Ben. It is very difficult to be too critical of him because of everything that's going on. Has he come in fully aware of the whole situation? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think anyone saw this unfolding, to be honest with you. But at the same time, he couldn't have been completely naive to it either.
No.
So
it spiraled a little bit out of his control, unfortunately, and he's had a difficult job. We know what Gatland's all about. Let's be honest. He's won Grand Slam titles with Wales before, but we've come into uncharted territory this season with everything that's going on. And even Mr. Gatland is finding it difficult to try and get some sort of solidarity and some consistency. He's struggling at the moment as well. So if there's any man who can do it, I'll put my hat on Mr. Gatland to sort things out, and we'll come away with a win against Italy on Saturday.
I was good.
It won't be outstanding win, but he'll look for the W in some way,
3-0,
some shape or form.
All right. That was going to be the question just as we close this first part. So I think, Gordon, you've answered it. Wales win in Rome. That's all right. No, you're fine. Jump out. You read my mind. Wales win.
Italy by 3 to 7 points.
Okay, I'll go Wales to win. I think they will do it in Rome at the weekend, but it'll be very close. And then the other final question, and if anyone wants to answer this as well, does Gatland take Wales to the World Cup? Yes or no?
Yes. He's got to take a spin.
Whether he goes beyond that, I think, is questionable at this point.
Yeah,
because you almost feel like it might be an opportunity using that free hit, Fraser, that you said to take some youngsters. Maybe if that might have been a better approach, but who knows?
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, lads. Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Okay, well, listen, that's rugby for now. We'll take a moment and we're going to come back in just a second, part 2, and talk football, because there are 2 Pembrokeshire sides in the last 4 of the West Wales Cup. Hakin came through on penalties, didn't they? It was 1-1 at full time. They won their shootout, and Carew also needed extra time, but had a really good win, 5-1 over Evans and Williams to make it through to the semi-final. So we've got the Carew coach, Kerry Brace, coming on to talk to us about that. We'll have a look at some of the other stories from the local football scene as well. Plenty more still to come, and plenty more opportunities for you to get involved with us tonight as well. It's Monday evening, coming up to 8:20. It's Pure West Sport.